Hey everybody, welcome back to Unfiltered, a show that we do twice a month where real people have some real conversations and talk about real things. My name is Xavier and I'm just glad to be with you guys today. Today's topic of conversation is blurred lines. Can men and women be close friends? And so we're going to have some more conversations, but we might even go, can they be and stay close friends?
Okay.
And so we'll talk about that first, but I want everybody to introduce themselves. Well, I have an opening question for you though.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready.
No.
If you had to eat one restaurant for the rest of your life, breakfast, lunch, dinner, midnight snack, what would it be?
Midnight snack.
You don't eat midnight snacks?
Oh no, I do.
Oh,
But I'm just trying to think what restaurant would I want a midnight snack
That's
from?
hard.
Look at me like, you don't eat snacks?
You don't eat.
That's hard.
I think I have to go with IHOP.
Okay. I've never had anything from IHOP that wasn't breakfast, so I can't.
I love
comment there.
IHOP. Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't know. I just
just
don't
love
trust
IHOP.
IHOP burgers. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a
I can see that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think I've had
But
anything
I mean,
apart
to
from
each his
breakfast.
own.
What's
From
another
IHOP.
good place?
A restaurant or like a fast food?
I think yeah, you can do whatever.
I would say Whataburger.
Whataburger?
Whataburger.
Yeah. 'Cause they got, I feel like their food is good at any time.
I mean, I got it. But
I want to change mine.
No.
I literally just thought one.
I think this is a place. I'm thinking the right place. Is it Breadwinners? Have y'all ever been there?
Breadwinners, yeah.
That place
in
is
Dallas.
good.
That's some
No,
good
I've heard of
brunch.
that place.
Yes.
You've never had
You
bread?
don't? Okay, yeah, we got
It's in Dallas?
Yes.
No, I've never heard
It's
of it.
good.
It's
Oh.
I guess I'll choose that.
I think I'm gonna choose. There's a place in Frisco called Tupelo Honey
Tupelo.
or Tupelo Honey, whatever it's called. But it is a great restaurant. It is bomb. It is bomb. Tupelo,
Okay.
Tupelo, Tupelo, whatever. Leave it down in the comments. Type the phonetical spelling down. I don't know how to spell it. But that's mine. What do you want to change yours to?
Chick-fil-A.
Ah, okay. I think
I
we
would
can
say
do
Chick-fil-A.
For lunch?
I say Chick-fil-A.
I was like, they're
Yeah,
not
bro,
open
but
on
you're going
Sunday.
to starve.
You
bro.
Sunday, yeah, I'm not
I was like, you are
I'm
not
gonna
eating on
fast.
I'm just fasting. So, yeah, blurred lines. Can men and women be and stay friends? I have a confession to make. I'll start with my blurred line story, and then we'll hear some of yours, and then we'll get into our conversation. So, one of my blurred line stories, I have many, sadly. I know.
Xavier.
Sip Steve.
Right.
Thanks for counseling me, guys. One of my blurred line story, you guys know I'm married now. I've been married for 2 years. Me and Francine have been together for, we dated for like a year or two before I proposed. So we've been together right around 4 years now. Or actually coming up on 5 years. We started in 2015. Yep. So, my blurred line story comes from, I was in a friend group where it was me and like another guy and then like maybe another guy and then like a bunch of girls. Like that's just how friend groups kind of start. You know, there's like a bunch of people who are just hanging out together, having fun. Like nobody in our friend group ever dated each other until me and Francine started dating at the end of the friendship. Like the friendship ended and then we started dating. But in the midst of all of that stuff happening, I saw that all the girls in our group were like dating these guys and they were horrible. Like they were just horrible dudes. And I was like, yo, like do y'all not have, we were friends, like I asked them like, yo, do y'all not have like a standard that you're trying to live by? Like is there not like a, I know that sounds
Yeah,
bad.
like y'all don't have a
That's
standard.
real.
Like,
out there now.
excuse me.
It comes off much harsher now, but in the moment
Yeah.
I said it in all the right ways. Like, hey, like, was it this? And so I was like, hey man, you shouldn't let this dude treat you like that. You shouldn't let this happen. They were like, yeah, we know, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, there's so much you can learn from a first date. And they were like, what do you mean? And so I was like, you know what? Here's what we'll do. And we were sitting at a table or like out eating something just like this. I said, I tell you what, here's what we're gonna do. I said, I'm gonna take each of you on a date, one-on-one, that I'll pay for in this circle.
This is really blurred.
Right.
This is getting real gray area.
But I'm saying this is all of us here. I didn't come to them one-on-one like, hey, let me show you how you should be. I said, hey, y'all collectively, we're gonna go on dates one-on-one. You're gonna know about it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, we're gonna talk through all the things that a guy should do when you go on a first date. Because my dad, he's military, and he's like super like, you know, chivalrous. Like, I remember him even teaching us, he's like, when he was about to get married, he said, hey, your stepmom will never touch a door as long as she lives, as long as I'm around, as long as you're around. And he just taught us all these things, and he did some of the same stuff for us and like teaching us. So I was like, oh, hey, y'all, we'll all go on a date one-on-one. I'll show you all the things that a guy should be doing. We can talk about it, blah, blah, blah. We'll come back together. We'll talk about it again. And then we can use this as a standard going forward.
Oh my God.
You're like, so I will be the person that will
This
show
is
you
the
how
way-
it's
yeah.
done.
They have to be here.
Right.
Not
It's a
only
level like this.
do I realize how bad of an idea this was because of blurred lines, but hearing it come out of my mouth now that I'm much older, I realize just how arrogant and prideful and like jerkish and all of that this sounds. Like I'm a horrible person. I was a horrible person. So
Good intentions.
with good intentions,
Right.
I really was like, I want you guys to be treated better. Like, and, like if you saw it, maybe you wouldn't do it anymore. So I did it, and
It's going downhill. Slippery slope.
my friends tried to convince me not to do it. That's the thing.
Oh, well, then
my
they were
Christian
trying-
friends
yeah.
brought to me, they're like, bro, this is a bad idea. And I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. They need an example. So I did it with like one person.
Give a bad example.
And then after that one time, I was like, yeah, this is a bad idea. So lines got blurred, even though we talked about, hey, this is not a relationship at all, blah, blah, blah. Like, we still ended up kind of talking or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And yeah, it ended up with feelings being hurt. And like I said, I'm not a very good guy. I wasn't a very good guy.
Right.
So
You
that's
lived,
my
you learned
and live
Quickly.
and learn.
right, quickly, very
Yeah.
fast after the first one.
So somebody else, get me out of the hot seat, please.
My God.
Okay. Tell us your name first.
What's up, guys? My name is Johnny, and I'm getting in the hot seat. No, so my little blurred line story was my ex was a very flirtatious woman. So like everybody she came across, she was trying to. I seen that she was trying to be like flirtatious or hitting on someone or something like that. So it built up a sense of insecurity on my side. So like as I just see her like just trying to talk to other men and stuff like that, and she'll be like, "Oh, it's not a problem. He's just a friend." And I'm like, I'm trying to tell you, like, I see what either you are trying to do or he's trying to do. And I mean, there might be times to where like she's literally intentionally just being friends with him. But like I said, like I just see the flip side of the story. So I mean, there's times to where like I was with this woman, or I was with her, and she would literally told me like, hey, like this is just a friend. But then like it was just one of those times where I grabbed her phone, and when I grabbed her phone, like I saw like messages, and I was like, just a friend, huh? Like, so it built another sense of layer of insecurity to where I'm just like, if I get told that he's just a friend, then that's what's going to pop in my mind, like, you're lying to me, and if I go on your phone, I'm going to be able to prove you wrong, right?
Because you have all these layers already just on top of each
Exactly.
other.
So it's just like every time I get in a situation to where like I'm dating someone or something like that, and they be like, well, this guy is just a friend, I'm like, okay, but you know, like what's a deeper layer of like what have y'all been through and stuff like that. So
That's good. Ladies, somebody got a blurred line story. Get the fellas off of the hot seat.
I will put
Right, I was
I'll
like,
let you have it, Ash.
Can we just leave y'all in the hot seat? So I do have a close friend that's a guy friend, but he's not like an exclusive close friend because it's a group of us. So kind of similar to your group, but we've never been
Except y'all
taken
don't
out
go
on
on one-on-one
individual
dates.
dates or anything. But yeah, so, and I will say that while he is a close friend in that group, I do go more so to my best friend that's a girl. And I'll tell her all of the stuff. He doesn't know half the stuff that she knows, but he is there so that whenever there are moments or anything like that, I do have that guy perspective, and he does care for me as a sister. And the reason, and I can say that because we know, like, okay, there would never be anything. It's just you're my brother. Like, you are there. You won't ever know half the stuff, because I feel like once you start giving people more information, is whenever that trust is being built, and then other emotions start to come in, and so it's a matter of being aware of that and setting those boundaries and stuff. So any guy friends that I do have, there are boundaries, and I will say, like, I set. So if I see that if I were to see that he's like acting differently than he does with her, at some point I'd be like, okay, we gotta distance each other. Like we can't be hanging out the way that we all hang out and stuff. 'Cause I'm just not trying to hurt anybody or lead anybody on or anything like that. So that's my story about my.
Why you look at me when you say lead everybody? I'm not trying to hurt nobody or lead anybody on. I'm like, gosh, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Don't try to lead nobody on.
Thank you. Let me live down my past.
Right.
It's okay.
6, 7 years ago.
It's okay. We learned. It's
Thank
fine.
you.
It's
Thank you.
okay.
Safe space.
It is. We've all done some stuff, so it's okay.
Okay, good. So, you have a story you want to share, Tiff? Okay, cool,
Oh, okay,
cool.
Tiff.
Plead the fifth.
Please, like, no.
Here we go. So now, the question at hand. Can men and women be close friends?
No.
Okay.
Is that an absolutely not?
We want to
Yes
know
or
what
no?
you think down in the comments.
Yes,
say no.
let us know
Let us
because
know.
I say no. Yes, it's just so complex.
Okay.
I say yes with some boundaries and maturity and self-awareness.
Okay. And
Go ahead, say how you after that story. How do you feel?
Right.
I say
Tell us the
no.
truth.
I say no. Men and women can't be and stay. Close friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be and stay. Okay, cool. So here we go. So I think that everybody, most people watching would agree that there is a little bit of nuance to it. There's like some yes, but there's some no, but in there, and every situation is different. And so let's give some practical tips and tricks or boundaries or whatever you think. If there's a way that it could work, what are some of the things we have to have in place?
Like you said, boundaries is the first part. I think as we go into like an opposite sex type of friendship, like letting them know from the jump, like, hey, I have no intentions or anything like that. Like, I just want to keep this short and sweet as far as like just boundaries of being
Short and
That did not sound good.
That is not sounding good.
When I said it, I was like, okay, here we go. Keep the ball rolling.
I try to roll over it too. Like maybe they didn't hear that.
Yeah, I
Short and
just
sweet,
had to keep it going. But
We know
it's
what you mean, though. You're just trying to keep this strictly friends, not
Just
short and
business.
sweet.
sweet.
Maybe not just business either. That also
No.
sounds like you need a better word choice right now. I just want to love you the way Christ loves you.
Yes.
There we go.
So it's just like trying to figure out, one, just understanding, like you said, how Christ loved you, but then understanding like this is my brother in Christ or this is my sister in Christ, and I need to love them like that. But it just, I think sometimes where it becomes the blurred line is like there's always one person that's crossing it just a little bit to where it just completely throws it off. So I think just being honest, like from the beginning, and then just being self-aware, to be honest.
No, that's good.
I say no. Coming from my perspective, I just feel like, and a yes. Oh, well, let me be. No, yes. I think that it has to be respective toward your significant other. I think definitely there can be boundaries crossed where your significant other would be like uncomfortable in a situation or with whoever you're a close friend with or a friend, because as much as your intention could be like, we're just friends. Like, you don't know how far like that or what that person thinks of you. You know what I mean? Like, he could like, my husband could think like, oh no, I see something different than what you're seeing, because you see him as just his friend, as someone that's just there, but like, no, his intentions seem otherwise.
Right.
So I say no just on the fact of like, sometimes I don't even feel comfortable having a conversation if I don't know it's like a friend. Like you guys, I know it's friend, like you guys are my brothers. Like, but if it's someone else that I've known for a long time, but like their intentions of, I know who they are, then I know that's not their intentions to really just be a friend. So I would say no just on the fact of like, it's just really blurry. It gets to where a point where it's like, you don't want to disrespect any relationship that you do have, but you have to be mature enough to be like, I'm in a different season where I can't be in a close friendship like it would be if I was single. So
I think so. I think I agree in some senses there, and I disagree in some senses. I think that it's just tough because I always say I don't think anything. Let me make sure I believe what I'm about to say.
I was like,
When it comes to the opposite sex, anything I can't do while I'm married, I should avoid doing while I'm single.
That's real.
And so I
really
think,
good.
to y'all's point, you talked about boundaries. You talked about having some boundaries and stuff like that. I think, number one, I don't think that stating intentions up front helps a lot. Because maybe you're like me.
Yeah.
I've fallen for some people that I had no intentions of falling for before.
Like you're honest before, and
Yeah,
all of a
and I
sudden
say,
turn into
hey,
something you didn't
exactly,
expect. Yeah.
Exactly. I say, hey,
agree.
me and this person are just friends.
That's
I
real.
just want to be friends. And somehow we end up married. I mean, that's exactly what happened to me and my wife. Like, we were just friends, and then somehow, here we are 5 years later, we're married. And so I think there's a little bit of nuance there, and it's a little tough because you can't always judge people's intentions. But I think what I can say I've learned is to have boundaries around how much you will talk and what you will talk about.
Yeah.
And I don't think you state these because I think when you state them, it becomes clear to the other person that you're trying to avoid something.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like as a guy,
yes.
ladies, I'm gonna let you in on something about how guys think. If guys are
Not too much though.
not too much, I'm not gonna give you all the tips and tricks. But I think if a guy likes you and he wants you, but he knows that you want to be just friends, I think he's looking for little hints, keys, and triggers that he can use to get a little bit of a foothold because he ultimately wants to be with you long term.
Definitely.
And so for you to say, hey, I think we just need to put some boundaries about how much we talk, he's thinking you need boundaries because part of you wants to be with me, but you're trying to avoid that.
Yep.
And so
Exactly what he's
now
gonna think.
I'm going to push those just a little bit. And I'm not going to push them long enough for you to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to stay right at this boundary long enough for me to move it just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that'll happen in any boundary that you set. I think if you set boundaries around physical time together, say, hey, we don't need to be together after 9:30 because that's when he's thinking, okay, if I could just get past 9:30.
In there.
So I think you don't share those types of boundaries
Yeah.
and have those types of conversations because they open up too much of they put a target at whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
And so I think, but you do have to set them because I think the way that intimacy works is when I start to share what I like, what I don't like, and when somebody starts to get to know me, and when somebody ultimately, once they get to know me, they can anticipate what I need, those are the people you end up liking and catching feelings for.
No, that's real.
And
So
so,
they're there for you in a way because they already learned you.
yes,
Yeah.
they already
That's
like
good.
they're already starting to do what your potential
Yes.
spouse
Yeah,
is
would be
supposed to
doing. Yes.
do.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, I figured you might be having a bad day today, so
I
I
went and-
anticipated that and I
Yeah.
went and did this. I know that you have this
Blurred
big
lines.
thing coming on, so I want to be there for you in this, which is what a friend is supposed to do.
But it's also saying like it's
Exactly.
it's playing on that role. It's kind of playing mentally on you, like, oh, you're a friend, but this could actually be more because you actually really care about me, and you know what I mean, going the extra mile for me. And so then you start having those feelings that come up. You're like, hold up,
Right.
we were just
You're
friends.
doing too much.
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of controlling your heart. Has your heart ever made you do something you didn't want to do?
Definitely.
Everyone took that was a hard side for everybody. Like,
Can't even lie.
Anybody else?
Has it not?
Anybody else out there? You find that your heart does stuff that, come on, I know you're typing in the comments right now. I want to read a scripture about it. I know, we didn't even talk about this scripture before, but in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, it says this: above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Keep your mouth free of perversity. Keep corrupt talk far from your lips. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the path for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways. And I think it tells you to guard your heart because, your heart will take you some crazy places.
Yes, it will.
Like, it will flutter. And, man, I have a close friend, a guy.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
He told me about, the same things. He's like, man, I had no intentions of liking this girl, but you know, after conversation after conversation, I'm falling in love with this, and this about her, and I'm starting to like her. And I think that's why it tells us to guard our heart versus to follow it.
Right.
So control that joint and keep your passions and stuff in check.
Control.
Yeah.
What else? What other tips and tricks would you give for blurred lines? And what if you are trying to use the friendship to spark a relationship?
That's a good one.
Right.
Is that okay?
Because we kind of touched on, like, people like to say we were friends before we started doing anything or started dating or anything like that. I think, like you said, you can't go into friendship being like, this is the boundary of this, this, and this. I think you just got to go into a friendship saying it's a friendship. And then if it does blossom into something, it blossoms into something, but it gradually, like, you know what I mean? You guys both have to be comfortable with it. But like you said, I think that made it clear when you said don't set boundaries, because then friendships would be all types of crazy.
Well,
ones.
set boundaries, but you don't have to like openly talk
Yeah,
about it.
openly talk about it. Like boundaries
have
within
some,
yourself, but
internal boundaries.
like talking about out loud just because you want them to know like where you're at. Because eventually that might not be where you're at a year from now, and then it's like you can't set those boundaries. Like and they might have moved on to something else because they're like, oh, you were never interested. You know what I mean?
I feel like with boundaries, as soon as you hear about boundaries, you naturally have a tendency to push those boundaries because you want to see how far that line will go. So as soon as you say, "Hey, we can hang out past 9:30," naturally you're gonna be like, "Oh, okay, cool," but it's gonna be 9:31, and then it'll be 9:32, and it's like,
You
wait
can
a
say,
second.
I don't want to leave.
Yes.
Not that I have any experience in this. I'm just saying.
Anyways,
This is what I see. This is what I see in the movies.
Right.
That's what happened in all those shows.
But with setting those boundaries, you have to be self-aware to be able to set those boundaries. Because if you're not, then what are you setting boundaries for?
Right.
If you are not internally knowing, hey, this is what I'm attracted to, this is how I feel about this person, then you have no boundaries to set. Because, so for instance, if I don't know, hey, what am I looking for in a significant other, or what is it that I'm attracted to when it comes to other people, then I will not set any boundaries. Because I will be like, oh, well, he's nice. And it's like, no. It goes a little further than that. So you have to know yourself internally before you can set boundaries with anybody else.
Yeah.
Because if not, then
I think that's
blurred
good.
lines.
It reminds me of, so somebody had a quote, self-awareness is kind of a myth because they say the only way to be self-aware is for somebody else to tell you.
Yes.
And I think that there's a lot of truth in there. And I think that's why it's important for us to have like mentors or somebody that we're being discipled by who can see the intentions of other people. Because there were times in my life where I legitimately thought that like I was just friends with somebody, but it was somebody who could see through my fluff and could see how the other person responded to me, who could like put me on game and say, hey, this person has some impure intentions for you. And so I think that above setting your own boundaries, having somebody in your life who can speak into, hey, look, this is wrong for you. And that could be a life group, that could be anything, to say, hey, bro, this girl or this guy is not good for you. Y'all are trying to be friends. That whole friendship thing is not working. And I think that even to your point, Tiff, that you were saying earlier, or Tiffany, I'm sorry.
No, just fine.
Her name is Tiffany.
Okay, you're more comfortable with.
Whichever one you prefer. You were talking about how, I think I lost my train of thought. Oh, when you finally identify what you want. I think it is good to identify what you want and that type of stuff, because you do need at some point to say, these are my friends, this is a person I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I think it's tough when you want a natural flow. I think the moment I realize I want to be with somebody, I need to make my intentions clear.
Definitely.
And I need to go say, hey, at this point, I would like to pursue you. And then if you've seen any of our dating stuff, you know there's a process to dating where you talk to the person's mentors and coverings and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Go get Pastor's book. It's game changing.
When love is in view.
So
When love is in view.
Before love's in view.
Before love's in view.
It's
All
really
that
good.
When
stuff.
it is.
As a matter of fact,
When in it.
plug, in that book, Pastor Conway tells one of his blurred line stories.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Bro.
That joint is good. So if I were you, I'm just saying, I'd figure out a way to get my hands on a copy of that book.
Definitely.
But I think that that's the thing. If I make my intentions known the moment that I know them, I owe it to the person that I am in communication with to make them known.
That's really
And
good.
to be comfortable saying, hey, I'm either going to pursue or not based off this.
I agree.
No, that makes sense.
I think that's
I'm with
good.
it.
That's yeah, me too. I agree.
Cool. Any more tips? Blurred line tips.
Blurred line tips.
I still stick with no.
He's like, no,
I still
no.
stick with no. That's like literally like as of today, just because of past hurt experiences. That's what like inclines me to just be short with like an opposite sex, just because I'm like I know what happens and I've seen what happens, to where it's just like I don't want to do anything misleading or try to cause you or try to cause me to hurt you or vice versa. So I just protect my heart or guard my heart. And just try to be like, yo, like, I can be cool with you, but as far as, like, you guys, like, I have to protect it and make sure I don't say anything or do anything to try to come off, like, attractive or something like that. So.
Wait, I'm sorry. I gotta make sure I don't do nothing that come off attractive. I'm just saying.
You know, I got you full. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm just
we
cool
good,
like
we
that.
good,
I
we
just gotta
good.
make sure I ain't too attractive for y'all.
Oh gosh.
Cool. But so here's my question. Let's say somebody out there right now and you're watching and you might have a significant, like a best friend or a close friend right now that's of the opposite sex. Am I supposed to just get rid of my friends? Am I supposed to just say, all right, cool, peace, deuces. We've been friends since we was kids, but we're done now. What does that look like? Even if it's not, because I think sometimes the main response, which we could definitely talk about, is, well, when I do get into a relationship, what's that going to look like?
Oh, yeah.
But what if there's a person that just says, hey, no, I do think that I want to build some healthy, you know, same-sex friendships. What do I do with this one that's really close right now if it's not just getting rid of it for a relationship?
Is it a reason why? I think there's always a season for friendship sometimes. Sometimes you're in a different season than he is or she is, and you're just moving past it. Not moving past it, but you're just growing in a different direction. And sometimes it's okay to let a friend go, but not in a malicious way or saying, like, I don't want to talk to you. It's just like, we're just in different seasons, and that's okay. And that's okay for us to grow different paths. But, like, no, I'll always be here for you, and I wish the best for you, but it's maybe it's not the season that we're supposed to be in together as friends. So
That's good.
That's good. I was like, I would say you have to be intentional about it. You have to be aware of where you guys both stand. If you feel that your close friend, it might be attracted to you, there needs to be some clarity. There needs to be some boundaries set, and I would say slowly retract yourself. It doesn't have to be like very abrupt, like, hey, we can't be friends, but just slowly.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
be
that's good. I
intentional.
think just like I said, just being honest and like you said, backing up and stuff like that. That's a very good point. But no.
He said no. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. For the person who might be feeling that, you're kind of like me. So I'm a people person. I love people. I love when people like me and that type of stuff. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. But I think that caused me to mess up a lot of my relationships and to make things worse. So I'll give you this last story. There was a moment where I noticed that in a friendship where I'm like, hey, this is a blurred lines type of thing I never meant for. It was clear that at some point, like, she had feelings for me, but I didn't share those same feelings. And so I tried to slowly, like, bring myself away. And I remember one day she was like, hey, can we talk? And I was like, sure. So we went, we're grabbing some food. And she was like, so I feel like what happened was we were friends. We got a little too close for comfort. You felt like I started liking you. And so you started, like, not talking to me anymore, like, as much as you did. And I was like, wow, she just called me out. Like, you weren't supposed to notice
Exactly
that.
what I felt.
But I think the hard part is I was trying to do it in a way that didn't hurt the person's feelings. But I think the hard part is once there's a blurred line there, you don't leave easy. You don't leave smooth. You don't leave straight. Is that if I'm in a blurred line situation, it's going to be messy as I'm coming out of it. Somebody's feelings are going to be hurt. And I have to be honest and say sometimes it might be my feelings, because now all of a sudden I have to deal with this void that I should have had healthy accountability and relationships for that I don't have now because I was leaning on somebody else for too much of what I needed.
Yeah.
And it's because, like I said, over time, the conversations about my hopes, dreams, goals, what I love, what I don't love, my family drama, my baggage, all of that stuff led to me being so tightly knit to this person that them not being in that space anymore is going to hurt and is going to have some issues.
Yeah.
And so I think that's good.
That is good.
Anything else?
Ooh, no.
I think it's just
so
like
good.
it's the point of like just being self-aware and not allowing like your brother and sister to stumble.
Not causing them to stumble too.
Right, just because like somebody else's intentions might be trying to get you to stumble, and you might not see that until you have stumbled, and then that's where you get to that point to where you're like, okay, you got me, but now I'm trying to back up just because that wasn't my pure intentions. And then when you try to guard your heart, that's when it's just a lot of emotions try to get in tied, and then that's where just friendships start messing up and hurt feelings get involved. So like I said, I just try to just
Still, answers no.
no.
His answer is
y'all's
still no.
answer is no.
Right, his answer is still no.
So there you have it. We want to know more of what you have down in the comments below. Let us know your questions, comments, concerns about this topic. Is something that we can continue. Is something that we can talk about going forward. Is even something that you can talk about with your community. And so listen to me today. If you are not in a community, you're not in a small group, a young adult life group, somewhere that you can build healthy same-sex friendships and then learn to foster healthy relationships with the opposite sex, then we want you to consider joining a group today. You can click the link down in the description below. We'll follow up with you and get you connected to community, because life change happens best in community, and because these types of decisions are hard to make when your heart gets involved. You got the game all twisted. And so what we want you to do is you can join that group. And then you can also let us know in that same link, you can let us know what type of conversations you'd like to see us have. Once again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again in a few weeks.